Kentucky basketball really wanted to land Sam Houston State transfer Lamar Wilkerson. Unfortunately, it looks like the Wildcats are simply just too good.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we've got some bad news, and then we've also got some pretty good news. Kentucky basketball misses on a prospect they wanted in the transfer portal, but it seems like it's probably best that he goes elsewhere. Also on today's episode, going to look at the transfer portal at large, take a look at 5 different prospects that the Cats are currently interested in, including another international prospect. Could they add yet another to what is looking like an incredibly loaded roster? Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms, and if you're watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show, and if you're listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribed there as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Kentucky basketball misses out on Sam Houston State transfer Lamar Wilkerson. He commits to Indiana. Now, if you have any sort of social media account on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and you're a Kentucky fan, you are following this along at least a little bit, you thought that Wilkerson was coming to Kentucky. It looked like for a hot minute there that he was going to commit to the Wildcats after taking a visit to Lexington. It was only just a matter of time. I myself was tweeting out saying, okay, are we just waiting for this announcement at this point? Because it kind of feels like it's all said and done. Like it's written in stone that Lamar Wilkerson is going to be a Kentucky Wildcat. Even KSR, the day of his announcement, his commitment to Indiana, just hours beforehand, they were on air talking about how, hey, there's probably some pretty good news coming for Kentucky pretty soon, that Lamar Wilkerson, it looked like he was trending in that direction. He was going to commit to Kentucky. Everyone and their mother who is an insider for this, on 3, their prediction was Kentucky, don't keep Indiana out of this. Don't throw Indiana out of this just yet, because they could absolutely make a push and throw some money down here. But it looks like it's going to be Kentucky. Everyone thought he was going to be a Wildcat. So why did Lamar Wilkerson decide to go play for Indiana? It's obviously one specific reason. There is no other legitimate reason other than the Hoosiers simply made him a better offer. At this point in the roster construction cycle, Kentucky's got 12 different guys on roster that they can run with next season and they can feel super excited about, right? It might be 12. I may need to recount, but you get my point. Kentucky's got a rotation. At this point, if Otega Oweh comes back, they are rolling into the 25-26 season. Absolutely so. I don't know what Kentucky's NIL pool currently looks like, but my assumption is, considering they've already gotten 5 different transfer players and they've got 2 freshmen coming in, my assumption is that they've already doled out some cash. Indiana is still in the process of building their roster with DeVries, the new head coach there. They're going to be incredible, the Hoosiers are, and that non-con game, I believe it's December 13th, is going to be super fun. Absolutely. It's going to be a blast. But they made a better offer. I can't sit here and tell you what the specifics are. I wasn't in that war room. I wasn't making the phone calls. I guarantee you this was about money. And you can sit here and tell me whether you like that or not. You can sit here and tell me, well, I think it's ridiculous that all college kids currently care about is money. Or, oh, well, I think that they should be able to go and get all the money possible, especially if they don't think that they're going to be able to make it to the next level, whether that be in America or overseas. You can have whatever opinion you want on it. Just know, at the end of the day, most kids are going to go where the money's at. I don't blame them. I can sit here and tell you I don't like it. I can sit here and tell you I think it's great. It doesn't matter. It's their life. It's their choice. And he's going to go play at a very good school. He's going to be in a good situation. The most interesting thing about this, and this is why this episode is titled what it is, this is why we let off the show saying Kentucky's too good for Wilkerson. That's why it freaking says it on YouTube. The quote that Lamar Wilkerson had when talking to the Field of 68 after he committed to the Hoosiers. This is all you need to know. He said, quote, "I didn't want to go to Kentucky and just be another guy." End quote. That's all you need to know. I'm not questioning this kid's character. I'm not questioning this kid's work ethic. I'm not questioning his morals on this show. But what I will tell you is if he's not willing to come and compete, if he's not willing to compete for playing time and a role against a freshman shooting guard in Jasper Johnson, if you're not willing to look at and say, there is only one obstacle in my way of being this team's objectively their best shooter, then maybe it is probably best that you go elsewhere. Because what are we trying to build? We're trying to build a team of kids that cares about this program and about each other. We want them to look at this and say, this matters. Not necessarily the cash, not necessarily the NBA, which those are factors, but to look at this and say, I want to be here because it's here. I want to be at Kentucky because it's Kentucky. To sit there and say in front of a live audience, I didn't want to go to Kentucky and just be another guy on their roster. I look back at last season. I look back at guys like Kobe Brea or Ainsley Almanor or somebody like Trent Noah later on in the year or somebody like Colin Chandler, somebody like Brandon Garrison who's back. They weren't just another guy. Every single player on this roster was an important cog in the wheel. And when it wasn't working, everything kind of fell apart. You could have one guy just kind of fall out of sync, and then things would start to bog down. Somebody like Wilkerson, who'd be starting at shooting guard, would play the Jackson Robinson or Kobe Brea type role. He wouldn't just be another guy. He would have been a great addition to this team and an important part of that backcourt. You are the best shooter on this team and one of the best in America. Yes, he's going to be great for the Hoosiers, by the way. He wouldn't have just been another dude. You would have been a Wildcat. There's so much more that being a Kentucky Wildcat means than just going out there and playing 25 minutes a game. If that doesn't satisfy you, if you wanted to get more shots up somewhere else, sure. Again, it's his life. I can't sit here and tell you whether it's a good or a bad thing. It's his choice. But what I can tell you is that coming to play for Kentucky is a great opportunity. And it would have been a great situation for Wilkerson. And I hate that he wants to go in a different direction. But you know what? I think he's going to be a great player for the Hoosiers. And I think they're going to have a very good team. But he didn't want to be another guy here. So honestly, if that's the way that he feels, it's probably best that both parties did not get more involved than they did. I want to talk to you about the portal at large. There are, because we haven't talked in so long, there are a million different players that Kentucky is either looking at or has contacted or is trying to get involved with. Braydon Hawthorne was hosted, the West Virginia decommit. Treysen Eaglestaff decommitted from South Carolina. There's so many things going on, right? I'm going to take you through 5 different guys that currently have my attention, and then we'll dive into them in more detail later on this week if more comes out. But just know right now, before we dive into that, just to let you know, Kentucky's roster right now, if the portal stopped today, Kentucky's in a great spot. They are too good right now to pick up a guy like Lamar Wilkerson, apparently. So they're going to have to go get somebody that's willing to play a role. So what does that look like? We'll dive into it in just a second. Before I do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting super easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or it's diving into player props, which I will absolutely be taking a look at whenever the playoffs actually come here. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many different ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, continuing along here on the Wednesday edition, technically, of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. I am so sorry that we have not talked in, 4 days now, because of the weekend and because of 2 days this week where things have been kind of hectic behind the scenes here at Locked On Kentucky. Nevertheless, we are here talking about Kentucky in the portal, talking about Kentucky missing on Lamar Wilkerson, and let's not sugarcoat it, right? Let's not call it what it isn't, right? Let's talk about it, how it happened, and what it is. This is a miss. This is a kid that Kentucky wanted, brought him to Keene Lake, brought him to go see the horses and everything, guys, and it ended up not working. It's a whiff. Kentucky wanted him, they couldn't get him. Apparently, they're too good to take somebody like Lamar Wilkerson because he would have just ended up being another guy. One of the nation's best three-point shooters would have just been another dude on this incredibly stacked roster, apparently. So we keep it pushing. Let's take a look at 5 different prospects that Kentucky has either contacted or is trying to get involved with, and then I keep using that verbiage for one specific player here. We'll start at the top with an international prospect that just really does intrigue me in a lot of different ways just because of what he can do short-term and then long-term for the Kentucky Wildcats, and that is Dame Sarr. It's not Dame, it's Dame Sarr, an international prospect. He's from Italy. He plays for FC Barcelona. He's a 6'6" shooting guard, and he's been used sparingly, obviously, because he's so young, but as the seasons have gone on there in EuroLeague, he's gotten to play a little bit more, and in 12 games this past season, he averaged 5.8 points per game, 1.7 rebounds per game, 0.7 assists while shooting 52.1% from the floor and 42.9% from three. That all came in 12 games where he averaged 12.8 minutes per game. The kid's still very young. He's still got a lot of ball in front of him. And there was actually a conversation, I believe, on Locked On NBA Big Board about this kid and what he's planning on doing. And I need to pull this back up. I meant to actually run the clip for you guys. I had it downloaded and everything, and I started recording before I slapped it into the system here. But I'll pull this up for you guys here real quick. So Kristen Peak, an NBA draft analyst, actually joined Barlow on the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast. And according to her, Kentucky is among the schools that have reached out to this international talent. Now, again, like Kristen says, it's not really clear what his decision's going to be, whether it's going to go ahead and declare for the NBA draft or continue to play in EuroLeague or go to college. She thinks that it would be best for him to go play in college, but his future plans as of right now are unknown. But what is known is that Kentucky has made contact alongside Illinois and apparently the university that has more money than anyone on this planet, and that's the BYU Cougars. They have also made contact. It blows my mind just how much money BYU is throwing out here to put together a roster for next season. They're going to be stacked, dude. They're going to be really good, and I'm rooting for them. Got nothing against them. I actually like them. I think I'm going to be rooting for them. I hope they do great. It's just crazy to me how kind of out of nowhere they've decided to pour all of this money into their basketball program, and I hope it pays off for them. Frankly, it's a shame that it ended the way it did against Alabama, rather I should say, in the NCAA tournament. Anyway, Peak says that Kentucky, BYU, and Illinois are involved, and I hope that they do because there's a lot of potential here. That's what I'm trying to say. Both for Kentucky in the short term, if they could add that shooter to their roster, right? And then also, I think for long-term for Kentucky, this means a lot because of the fact that this kid's going to be a draft pick. He's going to be a high draft pick if he goes to college and plays for a year somewhere. Even if he stays in EuroLeague, if he stays there and he goes and rocks it out somewhere and then he goes to Claire's. He's going to be a high draft pick. If Kentucky could get him, that would be huge for Mark Pope because of what he can sell. There is this idea that now that Calipari is gone, Kentucky can't produce NBA talent. Oh, well, Calipari's gone. Well, there's not going to be any sort of NBA player coming through Kentucky anytime soon. Any moron with a Twitter account can go out there and say whatever they want, but what they can't do is tell you what's reality, which reality is it's still the University of Kentucky, and they're going to attract NBA talent. Whether you like it or not, Kentucky is still one of, if not the best program in college basketball, and they're going to get the dudes. Sorry, they're going to get the guys. And guys like Dame Sarr will continue, if they got him, would just continue to dispel the rumor or the assumption that Kentucky can't bring in NBA talent to compete. That's just not reality. Kentucky, by the way, going ahead and looking at the 2026 class, if you're reading message boards, if you're listening to what people are saying right now about the top of that class, Kentucky's going to start doing some work. I'm just letting you know right now. Guys like Dame Sarr would give you something to sell, to say, hey, look, it doesn't necessarily matter who I am as the coach. What I can tell you is, as your coach, I'll be able to develop you. On top of this, it's Kentucky, baby. We've got the money, we've got the facilities, we've got the attention, the eyeballs. Everybody's watching. Everyone is watching. Why wouldn't you come and play for me? Look at my offense. Look at how incredible it is relative to some other schmucks across college basketball. I can actually run a set. I can actually run a play out of a timeout. Unlike some people, I can actually develop you. That's the other thing. I can actually develop you as a coach. Unlike some people, get an international prospect that'll end up being a lottery pick. It'll shut a lot of people up. If you can't tell, it's something I am frustrated about as of late. And by the way, just want to go ahead and throw it out there. They've probably got three NBA draft picks on their roster right now, in Yelovich, in Jasper, and Marino, whenever Marino is able to develop a little bit more. Minimum. Jasper's going to be a lottery pick. Reality check. Kentucky can bring in recruits. Jaiden Glover is another player that I am interested in. A former 4-star prospect, was the number 79 overall player in last year's class, was at St. John's this past season, only appeared in 22 games, 2.2 points per game, had 11 points versus Harvard, played nice there. You want to go look at his very short highlight reel. He's got some nice plays as a spot-up guy in some catch-and-shoot situations as well, but he can drive on like 2 plays that I saw. He can drive to the rim and score, but statistically, there wasn't a ton there in terms of minutes. He barely got to play, and there was at one point in conference play where he got to play a little bit, and then he just didn't play for the rest of the season because Pitino wanted to play his older guys, as he should. He had a loaded, experienced roster. Glover, though, was like a legitimate prospect coming out of high school, and somebody that I think in a system like Kentucky's would have time to develop and would be able to get, I think, a little bit more of attention and get some time. Somebody like a Colin Chandler type, somebody like a Trent Noah type that could step in, play multiple years, and by the time he hits his junior year, you look up and you're saying, oh, wait, this guy is legit. This guy's going to be a super important cog in this wheel, and he's somebody that's going to end up getting drafted. Somebody like Glover, I think, would be really important to continue to keep an eye on, especially now that you have 15 scholarships. Throw some money at this kid, give him a scholarship. I think that would not be the worst idea in the world. Speaking of NBA talent, here's another player that Kentucky is looking at or trying to get involved with, and that is Ian Jackson out of North Carolina. According to Travis Graff, for all of you in the YouTube comments and on Twitter and in the Discord, frankly, that have continued to say, Ian Jackson, 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 we've got to go get Ian Jackson. Well, according to Graff, Kentucky is trying to get involved, whatever that means. A former 5-star talent that was extremely inconsistent in his lone freshman season with the Tar Heels, almost 12 points per game, 2.7 rebounds. Also shot 39.5% from 3. Phenomenal in the open floor. This kid is just a beast in transition. Great off the dribble. Much better, I think, shooting off the dribble than he is catch and shoot. Sporadic. Tried to play hero ball a lot, which I don't know if that's gonna. I don't know if that's gonna fly in Mark Pope's offense. I say fly, not like it's going to be looked down upon and like dogged, but I'm saying I just don't know if he's going to be able to get those touches. I think a more focused role would allow for more consistency. I think you would be able to maintain efficiency outside the arc, inside. I think you would become more efficient, especially as an off-ball guy, being able to get different stuffs from the 5 men, being able to go to the rim, off of cuts, off of slips, different things like that Kentucky loved to do so much last year. Legit athletic. I think this was in a 24/7 Sports scouting report, and I was going to say something like this: deceptively strong, going to the rim, which is he's got 6'4", 200 plus. I mean, he's got the athleticism, he's got the scoring ability, he's got the handling. This kid would be super fun, I think, for Mark Pope and company. I wouldn't want to see him be the guy that takes the most shots on this team, just because you've got guys like Ortega, you've got guys like Yelovich coming in. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed, frankly, on this roster. Jackson would be, I think, great as a secondary or third option, but like I said earlier, maybe, I don't know if Kentucky is at a point right now where they could add Jackson to the roster and it be like realistic. Do they have the money? I assume so. Do they have the spot that would make him okay? That would make him happy? I strongly doubt it. I think that he would be better off going somewhere where he could get more shot attempts, because I think his end goal is to go to the NBA. But if he was able to come here, I would 1,000% take him. I would just prefer him in a more focused role, I should say. The fourth player here, try and move along here quickly. Fourth player here is Cade Tyson. So Tyson is a really interesting case. Also from North Carolina, but he's formerly of Belmont. So in his final season at Belmont, he averaged 16.2 points while shooting 46.5% from 3. Great numbers across the board. We talked about him on the show, actually, whenever he entered the portal a year ago. And I was like, hey, this kid would be great. He ended up committing to North Carolina, and he averaged 7.9 minutes a game, 2.6 points. And here's the kicker. Went from 46.5% from 3 to 29.2%. I have absolutely no idea why he shot so poorly. I have absolutely no idea why he was forced down in that rotation. But he was great at Belmont, and it's not his defense. He would have been like this. I think that I looked it up. It was like this. It would have been like the 6th best defender on Kentucky's team, which would have been above guys like Robinson. Which I think Tyson would play a similar role. It's like if you can get a little bit better defense and shoot 37, 38, 39% from deep, yeah, absolutely, you'll 1,000% take a wing like that. I don't know what happened here. All I know is that he was really, really good with the Bruins, and I'd take him in a more focused role than he was at Belmont, averaging 16. He would have to be a reserve. I mean, there are so many different guards and shooters that Kentucky has right now. And you can't just go, okay, Cade Tyson threw a replacement to Lamar Wilkerson, a 29.2% shooter at his previous stop. Yeah, I'm not playing that over Jasper. I'm not. I'd play Wilkerson over Jasper. I don't think I'd play Tyson over him. And I'd say that if he committed, I would rather see the freshman go at it at shooting guard and let him eat. The kid's talented. Speaking of talent, how about a 5-star transfer here to round things out? Jamir Watkins. What? 5-star transfer from Florida State. Apparently, according to Field of 68, Kentucky is in the mix. Do I fully believe this? I don't know. But we've been told that they're in the mix. So for now, I'll go along with it. A 6'7", 210 guard/forward. Last year at Florida State, averaged 18.4 points per game while shooting 32.1% from 3, 42.7% from the floor. Also grabbed 5.7 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.2 steals, 0.5 blocks per game. Filled it up. Stat sheet. Absolutely. Spent his first 2 years at VCU, where he averaged 7.2 and 9.5 points. And his junior year at Florida State averaged 15.6, by the way, while shooting 34.4% from 3, which was a career best. So he's not a phenomenal three-point shooter. Would probably play at the 3 or the 4. Watkins, I think, would be great. It would force you to slide up Ortega Owe to the 2, and then it would be Watkins and Cam Williams at the 3. With the lack of efficiency from Watkins and the lack of three-point volume from Owe. I don't know if I'd like that, but he's uber talented and just filled it up at FSU. So, like, maybe, again, is Kentucky actually going to end up being, like, seriously involved here? I don't know, but he's a kid that intrigues me because he was averaging 18 at a Power 6 school. So, let me know what you think about it. We've got so many other kids to talk about. Obviously, Hawthorne finished up his visit earlier today. Technically, it's probably going to go up on early Thursday morning, but it's going to be the Wednesday episode. We've got a lot of other kids in the portal to talk about as well. What does Kentucky do? How do they round things out? We got a loaded roster. Couldn't take Lamar Wilkerson because we're too good for that, apparently. I hope you understand I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. Apparently. Because that's what it implied. Anyway, all right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And, of course, God bless. It's too good for Wilkerson, I guess. Oh well.